All right, so now we've developed our sourcing strategy, got stakeholder approval and management sign-off. It's time to formally engage the supply market.
Finally.
Remember, there are many ways of achieving your procurement objectives, and going to market is one of these ways. So let's see how. First, let's find out when is the right time to send an RFX document.
Start by asking yourself, will you benefit from changing suppliers? Financially, in performance, innovation or risk? Are there costs to changing? Things like training for new systems and processes, losing time while you get to know each other, and loss of intellectual property owned by the previous supplier.
If you've answered yes to any of these, then the known clear benefits should outweigh these potential costs. Also ask, will my organisation be put at risk if changes aren't made? Are there any changes that your current supplier is unable or unwilling to make? Is the market competitive and is my organisation willing to change? If not, there's no point in going to market. Benefits can be obtained outside of going to market. You can always renegotiate with your current supplier for better terms and improvement in their performance.
So, how do I go to market?
This questioning process will help you understand any key drivers and enable you to consult with and educate your stakeholders. Ensure clear objectives. Any pre-qualification and selection criteria have stakeholder input and they're agreed upon.
First step, confirm my strategy. Take the work you've carried out on developing your market engagement strategy and hold stakeholder workshops to confirm your objectives, scope, approach and timeline. Find out if a broader or narrower scope will introduce new suppliers. Consider alternative solutions to the status quo. Find out whether new suppliers are excluded due to the scope. Have suppliers been given an opportunity to add their full value? They may be able to offer suggestions that give you a competitive advantage. Have you taken into account cost versus benefits, such as supply disruption from change as opposed to process efficiencies through supply development?
Second step, developing my RFX document. This is a set of requirements, key questions, general terms and conditions for a supply contract and an activities list, timeframe, and qualifying criteria. Depending on which stage of the request process, your document can also include detailed specifications and plans, as well as cost and pricing forms to be completed. Basically, all of the information that a supplier needs to respond.
Use this decision pyramid as a guide to which RFX document is appropriate. But what are these documents and what do they mean?
At a basic level, we have EOI, RFI, and RFP. These documents qualify potential suppliers, gather product information, and test the market and encourage innovative solutions to your requirement. More advanced and detailed documents are RFTs and RFQs. These provide clear specifications, a desired outcome, and, if price is an important factor, they encourage competition in the bidding process. For major opportunities, non-competitive bidding should be the exception, not the rule.
So when you know which RFX document you need, what actually goes into it?
Your overview section contains all the information a supplier needs to respond in time and to the point. Describe the expectation for the operation, engagement, management, and payment for the product or service, as well as how risk, quality, and performance will be managed and reported.
So I need to think about what's involved in the RFX process, not only for my organisation, but also for potential suppliers.
That's right. What information do suppliers need to obtain? Will there be questions and clarifications sought? And what is your internal communication and approvals process? Will you have presentations and meetings, and if so, whereabouts? Make it achievable. You have to be realistic and try not to over or underestimate. Communicate the expectations to all of the internal and external parties involved.
But how do I know which supplier is the best option and what qualifies suppliers to provide a worthwhile response?
This knowledge is developed internally and in conjunction with your stakeholders. You'll find out what's important and how this compares. Identify the key criteria, their rank, and their weight. You may choose to share all or part of this to suppliers. Good practice is to share criteria at a minimum so that suppliers know what's important and can provide a better response. Giving suppliers clear direction and relevant information will give you more of what you need to know from them.
I get it. It will save time for both parties involved. Plus, it will help build a stronger relationship and help me make a more informed decision. So, what about terms and conditions?
This is important. You need to know if your organisation has standard terms and conditions for the contract that will follow the sourcing activity. Having a supplier agree to your organisation's terms and conditions is always preferable. If you have to use theirs, then know what's involved up front and ask for it to be provided early on. You don't want to get to the end of a sourcing activity only to start a lengthy contract negotiation process.
Also, make sure that all attachments are referenced throughout the RFX document, including the pricing schedule and compliance form.
And your pricing schedule needs to be consistent so that you can easily compare suppliers' responses. If possible, create a form that suppliers can fill out, and you can ask for alternative options to be provided if they offer more advantage to you. Seek transparency by asking for cost breakdowns. This means getting cost inputs by percentage.
Use a compliance form to determine if the supplier's response is compliant with your RFX criteria. List what is required and tick it off as received. It helps you document and keep track of progress. So when shouldn't I use an RFX?
Remember, it takes time, effort, and money, not just yours, but the people who respond to your requests. It can affect the reputation of a business on a number of levels if, for example, requests are continually sent to market but contracts are never awarded. Equally, going to market without clear objectives can result in indecision or worse.
Bad decisions.
Bad decisions. And an RFX document won't make any sense if you're in direct negotiations or contract extensions with a supplier. It will also not be worth it if the costs of going to market is greater than the expected delivery or where time is severely constrained. The risks may also be too great when the potential cost of change is considered.
I really need to focus on what I put into an RFX document.
If you concentrate on what to put into the document, such as clearly describing your requirements and asking important questions, then you'll get the information that you require. You now have an understanding of going to market and the core elements of an RFX.